All right, hi everyone. Welcome back to EMAS Sports and the Beyond the Bases podcast. Today's guest or this week's guest is Rob Forrand. Welcome, Rob. For
Thank you for
actually
having me.
second time on the channel, I believe, if I
Yes,
remember correctly.
second time.
So thank you for coming on to the podcast and discussing, your last few seasons in your career a little bit more because I think the last time was a little bit more of a shortened video. So I'm
Yes.
glad to have you on for a more longer discussion. So thank you.
No, my pleasure.
Yeah, so we'll jump right into things. Last season, you earned the 2025 Boston Baseball Association or BBA 20 Plus Manager of the Year award. For those unfamiliar with this award, what is it and what was your reaction to
All
becoming,
right.
or being elected or whatever the word is
Okay.
for
So
this award?
I'll try to do it without getting emotional. So for a lot of people that probably in your channel that don't really know me, my dad got sick last year and passed away. So it was a very rough start to the season. Baseball was kind of what got me through it all, being around the guys, being around the team. Um, we came to the banquet, and we didn't even talk about this award of having a manager there, nothing. So I do want to thank Omar Ortiz, Alvaro Castillo, and Tommy Heverin for thinking of this. So they actually named the award after my father, and I was the first recipient of it. So it was an honor, but it meant a little more being named after my dad, and it was a shock because I didn't even know we were doing it. We have awards for MVP, Cy Young, all that stuff. We never talked about a manager of the year, so it was definitely a shock. And now going forward, my dad's name will always be on that award. So it was an honor. Um, it was a tough year, and that kind of made it worth it. Um, Made it all kind of come back full circle. So I am very appreciative of it because we have a lot of great managers in our league. A lot of people that probably could have deserved it. I tell people all the time, my job as manager of the 28 plus Havoc, I have the easiest job in the league because my guys understand it. They understand the game. I don't have to basically babysit because a lot of adult baseball is adult babysitting. And I don't have to do that. My team just plays the game the right way, doesn't open their mouths, doesn't run their mouths. So I have the easiest job out of any manager. So it could have gone to a lot of deserving people. And the fact that they chose me was an honor.
Yeah, and you mentioned family as well. Do you kind of have an origin story for how you got started with baseball? Does your dad have something to do with that as well, or is it something else? And
No,
maybe a lot of people aren't familiar with your story, so I'm
my
wondering if you can
father
share about that.
my father liked baseball. My father was not an athlete. My aunt was an athlete. So my aunt was a state champion softball, basketball, and volleyball coach in high school. She's the one who got soccer. I played soccer growing up. That always came natural to me and my brothers. But baseball and basketball, my aunt actually taught me how to play. So my aunt got me into baseball. And she was the one at every one of every game I had, every high school game. She was all, even when I started playing men's league, she was there. She would come to the games early when I started playing men's league too. Yeah, my dad liked baseball. He just was not an athlete. My dad, massive Red Sox fan, was loved the Red Sox, loved baseball, but he was not an athlete by any stretch of the imagination. But yeah, so my aunt's actually the one that got me into sports and into baseball.
Okay, it seems to run in the family, I guess.
Yeah.
And of course, obviously, on top of being the manager for the Boston Havoc, you're also the commissioner for the 18 plus. So, how do
Yes.
you kind of balance that kind of responsibility? Because I'm sure that's a lot, especially with also family as well. So, how do you balance it all and keep going as long as you've had with all this?
A very understanding girlfriend and a very understanding group of kids that I have that understand because it's not even just being the commissioner, which I love. Um, I love, and I'm like, I don't throw my weight around when it comes to commissioner. I'm just there to deal with the problems that come up. And luckily, knock on wood, we haven't had any. So I haven't had to really do much as far as that aspect goes. But I'm also the manager of the 18 plus Havoc too. So I have a team in the league as well that I have to run. And then I also coach a 13U club team on the South Shore. So from April till September, it's nothing but baseball. And I can balance it because I have a very understanding girlfriend and my kids and understand. Like they get it that, dad's doing baseball stuff. And my girls are older though. Like my oldest is 19, my youngest is 13. my stepson is going to be 12, so they get it. They get it, but it's a lot of time not at home, and with umpiring, that just adds more baseball to the ever busy schedule. But yeah, it's trying to find that balance and trying to find time with family. But um, yeah, I mean, this year will probably be my first year really having to deal with, because I had a co-commissioner last year, but he stepped down this year just with family. Same thing, family. He had a newborn, so this is my first year really doing it myself. But I have a good group around me. Um, Me and the commissioner of the 28s work well together, so we kind of help each other out. I'm the commissioner of the 18s, but we help each other out. And I have a good group of managers that don't make my life a problem. They're they respect my time, and they're a good group. But it was an honor to be named the commissioner, though. Just I guess getting loyalty rewarded, so it was good. And I thank Omar for that too, because Omar trusts me. So it was a good thing he put that trust in me.
Okay, and then from a player standpoint, you also, obviously, you're a manager slash player. So you have 63 career runs, 136 hits, 68 RBIs at the plate. How do you describe your approach at the plate, and how does that help your team?
So my approach is, and it's the same way I teach the kids team that I coach. It's attacking strikes. Don't expand the strike zone. Don't swing at bad pitches. Attack when they throw strikes. I don't care if it's the first pitch or a two-strike pitch. You attack it. Swinging at good pitches, and just you put the ball in play, things will happen. And I pride myself in not. I didn't even see how many strikeouts I had in my career, but I pride myself in not striking out a lot. I put the ball in play, and if I'm out, I'm out. But I put the ball in play. I make the defense have to make a play. I pride myself a lot in not striking out, and but that's pretty much that's my philosophy on it. And the same way I teach the kids: just attack strikes, swing at good pitches, don't expand the zone. You swing at strikes, good things are going to happen.
And then, of course, you're also a pitcher as well. How do you
I am.
describe your approach on the mound? And we'll talk about one of the big events that you're a part of, which is the 100 innings, a little bit later. But before we get to that, how do you describe your approach on the mound?
Okay, so I use the term pitcher very loosely with me because I do not throw hard, but I throw strikes, and that's it. I trust my defense. I'm not a strikeout guy, but I don't walk a lot of guys either. I throw strikes, and it's the same approach that I teach my kids. I'd rather get shelled than walk the ballpark. Because if you walk the ballpark, you hand it to them. It's my job to throw strikes. It's their job to hit it. And it's, if I make a pitch and they hit it, hats off to you. It's just throwing strikes. I try not to, I'm not going to ever blow anybody away. But that's, like I said, we'll talk about the 100 game later. That's why I'm so valuable in that game, because I just go out there and throw strikes. I keep the game moving. I work quick, and I throw strikes, and I trust my defense. And I love all the teams I've played for. I've had many great teammates. I haven't had the best luck with defensive teams, to be honest with you. But I've played with a lot of great players behind me that have made my job easier. And that's the big thing, is just trusting your teammates and trusting your defense. And that's my approach is just, number one, try not to overthink it. Just go out there and throw strikes. And if I can do that, then I'm going to give the team a chance.
And then, of course, with the Havoc, you guys have won back-to-back BBA championships.
Yes.
What's your favorite moment from each championship, and how do you carry those lessons into this season?
So my favorite moment was this past one. I kind of have the same mentality that Tom Brady has, where what's your favorite championship? The next one. But this past one was special because it was the year I lost my dad. When we got to the playoffs, I asked the team, I said, we have a good group. So we play for each other. But I said, if we don't do it for each other, do it for my dad. And they did. We came together. We only lost one game in the playoffs, and they did it for my father. And that meant a lot to me. And it was a very emotional end of the season, but it ended the way I wanted it to. But the one with the Avid last year was my first championship I ever won in adult baseball. I've been on a lot of mediocre to below average teams. So that was my best shot at winning it. So that was my first championship, which is always special. But last year, doing it for my father, and then winning the manager year with my dad's name on it, that meant a lot to me. And so this past one was probably my favorite.
And then, of course, you've had a lot of teammates and that you've, worked with or played with. Have you received any great advice from any of them or any of the players that you've, managed as well? And how do you apply it to any part of your game?
I'm trying to think like, I mean, I've played a lot over my life and I've probably gotten a lot of great advice I'm going to forget, but um, I guess the biggest thing is just don't overthink it. Like baseball's when you break it down, I mean, baseball, the hardest thing to do in I think in any sport is to hit a round ball with a round bat. But baseball at its core is kind of an easy game. You're throwing, catching, hitting. Like it's pretty simple if you don't overthink it. When people run into problems, it's when they start thinking it and getting too much in their head. That was probably the best advice I got, and it was when I was struggling. Actually, I think it's my first or second year when it was the MABL and not the BMBL. My team wasn't good, but I had a kid on my team that was a phenomenal hitter, and he's the one. And I was struggling, and I'm asking him like, "What am I doing? Why?" Like, he's basically the one that's like, "Stop thinking. Just don't think about it. Just go up there and swing." And that was probably the best advice I got was, and I try to do that with like every aspect of my life. Like I try not to overthink things. I try to just keep a level head and keep calm and take a step back if I have to and think about it. I try not to overthink things. So that was probably the best advice I got was just don't overthink it. Just play.
Fair enough. And sometimes it's keeping it as that simple that kind
Yeah.
of helps you get back. If you're struggling or in a tough moment, keep it simple. I'm assuming that's the easiest way to kind of overcome any obstacle that you deal with on the field or off the field too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
Well, obviously we've talked, or you said it before that you've also played on multiple teams, especially in the BMBL as well. The Boston Dodgers, Brockton Red Sox are a couple of the teams that I saw. Favorite memory from any of those teams, and did you have a favorite like a bat or a game from any BMBL days that you've had as
I
well?
I do I have a lot of great memories. Even like early on when playing for the Brockton Reds. The Brockton Reds were the dominant team when I first joined men's league baseball when I was 19. They were it was the MIBL at the time on the South Shore. Then it turned into the DBL, the Diamond Baseball League. They were the dominant team, and when they came to the MABL, we were not the same Brockton Reds. It wasn't the same team. It wasn't the core. We were just the Brockton Reds in name only. But a lot of my friends were on the team, so I had a blast then. And I made a lot of good friends. That's actually where I met Omar. I met, Bill Ferdinand, became pretty good friends with him. So that's how I kind of got into the league. And that's ended up how I became a member. It was the Boston Sox and became the Boston Havoc. That's how we got on it when the Brockton Reds folded. Um, my friend, one of my close friends, Jake Perkins, was good friends with Mike Lumbo, and that's how we moved over to the because we were talking with whether it was going to be the Boston, they were the White Sox at the time, whether it was going to be the White Sox or we're going to go join the Middleborough Red Sox, who are now the Mocker Rays. It was a toss up between them. We ended up joining the White Sox, who then became the Boston Sox and the Havoc. And that's how I met Omar. That's how I met Mike Lumbo, have become two of my closest friends, and I met him through baseball. And but my favorite game, it was we were for the Dodgers 38 plus. We were playing the Somerville Alabrandis, who were the number one seed. We had no business beating them, and I'll never forget it. I was pitching and I was keeping them off balance, and I wish I should have looked up. I forget the score of the game, but we were up one or two runs going in the last inning, but we actually were down at one point, and Omar hit a double into the gap to take the lead, and we took the lead. And I went out there to pitch, and I was on. I think it was first and second. They took me out of the game, and I was like, I'm done. I'm gonna go sit on the bench. And Omar's the one who's like, no, you go play third base. And they put the other kid at third base. And sure enough, the first ball smoked down the line. I made the play, and I'm pretty sure I stepped on third to get that guy out, and we ended up winning the game. We ended up upsetting the Somerville Alabrandis, and that's probably my favorite moment because we shouldn't even have been. We had no business beating them. They underestimated us, and we ended up beating them 2 games to 1. And just that last game was it was like a roller coaster. It was so much fun. We ended up unfortunately losing to the Bulls the next round. They were a phenomenal team. And that's even before they had Teddy Zuba and all those guys, and they were still phenomenal. But I mean, when you have guys like Johnny Hayes and stuff like that, you're going to have a good team. Um, but we beat the Somerville Brandies, and that was probably my favorite moment because we shouldn't have beaten them. We had no business beating them. But baseball's a funny game. Anything can happen.
And of course, you've had some postseason success, especially the last couple of years. But have you had a favorite postseason performance, either in the BMBL or BBA, individual performance, either from a teammate or opponent or both, really?
Yeah. So for me, it was that game because I pitched the game, got us in the position to win. And I think I did okay at the plate. I can't remember what I did, but I remember more for pitching that game. Um, that was my favorite individual performance. But as far as a team goes, my set what pretty close to it was we played our first year. We won the championship in the BBA. We lost game one to the Devil Rays. Oh, I think at the time they were the Aztecas. They switched their name, but they were the Aztecas at the time. And they beat us the first game, and I wasn't there. I think I was working, or I couldn't be there. And we had Seth Perkins pitching, who that's another guy you on the show. Seth Perkins, that kid has won the Cy Young back to back. That kid's a baller, and I can make that happen for you. That kid, nicest kid on earth, and that kid can shove. But they ended up beating us, and apparently I guess they started playing like we are the champions after the game, and you don't wake up a sleeping dog, and that's what they did. And we blew them out the second game, and the third game I actually had to play. And in that game, myself, Omar, and another player we have, Anthony Morales, all hit home runs, and we ended up, winning that game, and then going on to sweep the finals. That was probably my second favorite because I had no intention of playing in the playoffs, and then they needed me to play, and I ended up hitting a home run. So that was a fun game. But when you surround yourself with just a solid players, it makes your job easy.
Yeah, and then obviously you're also part of the 100 innings games. I see you there
Yes.
every year.
Oh yeah.
Talk about, that kind of experience. Obviously, the importance of raising money for ALS, but like what helps you keep going? Because you pitched, I believe, 50 total innings from what you told me. So how do you, end up doing that? Because that's a lot of innings, I mean, for anyone, but you've clearly done it for a while. So do you have any secrets to success for that
No.
type of thing? And just anything you want to talk about with that game?
So the 100 inning game, I tell people all the time, is my favorite game of the year. Um, you know, yeah, we play 100 innings, and I explain to people get blown away when I tell them 100 innings of baseball, but I do explain to them that I'm not out there every hundred for all 100 innings. Only Scott Leslie does that because that kid's a maniac. God bless the kid. I love that kid to death. That kid has saved me so many pitches in my arm. I love that kid for it. But it's just camaraderie. That's actually how I got on the Dodgers, was through that game. I met Johnny McGee and Zach Santamaro, John Pavlos, Joan O'Gallagher. Like that's how Joan O'Gallagher I met through the Dodgers, but like McGee, Pavlos, Zach Santamaro, that's how I met them all. And that's how I got on the Dodgers, was through that. I wasn't playing men's league baseball really much at all. I thought I was done. I didn't think I was going to play much more. And they asked me to play, and that's how I got on them. And thank you to George Laws for taking me on. He's become one of my closer friends. I still talk to him to this day. But that game is just, and you're doing it because, like I said, I got interviewed after I did all those innings, and like I said, no matter what my body's going to feel like, it's nothing compared to what guys like Rich Kennedy and Walter Benson deal with on a daily basis, dealing with this awful disease. And I have a friend, one of my best friends' uncles passed away from ALS. I have a friend's mother who passed away from ALS. So it's definitely something that hits home to me. So the fact that we've raised over $1 million in the all this makes me proud. And yeah, so the 50 innings was not a planned thing. I didn't intend to. I threw 43 in a row. Did not intend to do that. The kid couldn't throw strikes, and I wasn't planning on going in yet. Me and Angie, Zach's wife, talked, and I'm like, all right, I'll go in now. And I just kept throwing and throwing and throwing. And I got to 43 and came out and I said, I'm done. Sat down for hours. And the kid couldn't throw strikes yet. And Angie goes, do you think you could throw anymore? And I'm like, I don't think so. And I'm sitting there, and after watching, I asked the kid, "Hey, stand up for me. Let me see if I can throw." And I got up and I threw a little bit. And I looked at it. I go, "I can reach the plate. I can throw strikes." And I went out there and threw 7 more. If Jono had his way, I would have just kept going. But by that, I was in the 51st inning, didn't record an out, and my arm, I couldn't even feel it. But the one thing people like to ask me is how my arm felt. My arm actually felt great. It wasn't my arm. Like if I straighten out my arm, I got the tingling in the fingertips from throwing all those pitches. Because when the newspaper interviewed me, they asked me how many pitches they thought I threw, and I estimated probably close to 1,000. Because I just averaged to maybe 20 pitches an inning. There was some shorter, some longer. Some of the shorter innings. Thank you again to Scott Leslie for probably saving my arm by catching every fly ball hit to center field. But it was it was a great accomplishment, but it's just a great cause. And I will play that game until I can't. And I actually, you know, I got my ex stepson into playing, and he still plays to this day. I saw him last year, and even though me and his mother aren't together anymore, I got to have a good conversation with him and find out, because he got into baseball because of me. I got him back into I got him into baseball. I shelled a lot of money out for him, but he put in the hard work. And now, apparently, from what he's telling me, he's plays for BC High. He's going to Cal Poly out in California, which is basically the MIT of California, and he throws 90. So he's put the work in, and I'm proud of him for it. And I just love giving back to the game. Like, this game's been so good to me, and my aunt being the state champion softball coach, it means a lot to me, to kind of continue her legacy as an athlete. Yeah, I tell people all the time, I'm going to be 47 years old, and I'm still playing a kid's game, and that's kind of how I see it.
Sounds like baseball runs deep in your family, or
It
just
does.
sports in general. I mean, whether it's your aunt, whether it's you. So, sounds like it's a lot of fun. And I mean, that kind of connection, the 100 innings game too. It just makes it. It sounds like it makes it more meaningful. I mean,
Yeah,
obviously there's a bigger cause for it, but like, it's also just about playing baseball, having fun doing it. Yes, doing it for a great cause, but it sounds like it's also, just a very enjoyable experience being around all the people that you are.
yeah, and you've been there. You've seen the camaraderie that goes on there, so
Yeah.
you've experienced it. So you see what it is, and that's the entire day, because you need these people when it gets to like after midnight and you're trying to get that second win. Like, all you have is each other to get through it, because you could start off and have a beautiful day. When that sun goes down, it gets cold, and there are times you're not hitting for 2 hours, but because you get depending on how many people show up, and that you lean on each other to get through it. And it's like I said, you've experienced it and you've seen firsthand what it's like, and it's a great experience. I mean, anyone else, Alex Kopman did a fantastic job on the documentary, the 100th inning. It's on Amazon Prime. Go check it out. He did an amazing job with that. Unbelievable job. Um, and it's a great documentary, and it kind of shows you what we go through. It shows you all the warriors that, I mean, too many of them to name, Kevin O'Leary and, Jay Hussey, who's been a staple on there, and, myself and Angie Santamaro and Zach Santamaro, Joan O'Gallagher, like John Pavlos, like, and then all the guys from the Marlins, Scott Leslie, Eddie Cody, and all those guys. It becomes like a family. That's how I explain to people, we become a family. And I'll play that game until I can't anymore. And Rich Manazian too. I can't leave Rich out, because I might actually play in the BABL for Rich. He's been asking me, so I might actually get back into playing a little more. But Rich and his son Tyler are always there, and it's just a good group. We have a good group and a lot of fun, and it's a great cause. And it just sucks that we have people have to go through this disease, because this disease is terrible, and you see what it does to people. Some people it whips right through, and then you got a guy like Walter and Rich who they have the slow moving kind, so they're just dealing with it every day. Walter's been dealing with probably close to 30 years. It's a disease you don't want to see anyone deal with.
Yeah, and then like obviously having to, play the as many innings as you do. Do you have any secrets in terms of food that keeps you going, or any sort of routines beforehand that kind of help you? Because obviously, like you said, it's such an important disease that you want to be there as long as possible
Yeah.
and play as long as possible. for who knows how many years into the future, because it sounds like you want to keep going and for good reason. But like, do you have anything that any behind the scenes secrets of food or things that you bring to the game to kind of help you keep going?
A lot of energy drinks. A lot of energy drinks. Well, a lot of times, like Zach and Angie will pack a cooler. Like one year, I had a grill. I don't have it anymore. But one year, I brought a grill, and we all bought like burgers and hot dogs and steak tips and cooked some of that stuff up. And it's just, and then this year, Mike Sewell, who plays on the first base side, I'm always on the third base side. He actually brought his like he had his big grill out there, and he was making steak tips and everything, and bringing it to both sides. And that's what even no matter like we make it competitive, but it's like one giant family because it's the same people year after year after year, and we just all help each other out. But that's pretty much what it is. It's just a lot of energy drinks, a lot of water. Um, People bring food, we just share. We'll DoorDash sometimes. We've DoorDash food in the past. So yeah, that's pretty much all it is. It's just trying to stay as hydrated as possible and so you don't cramp up. And it's for a good cause.
Yeah, and of course, speaking of another event that you're part of, the Boston World Baseball Classic as well. Do you have any favorite memories from that time? Obviously, it's been a few years since we talked about it,
Yeah,
but I'm sure you've had a lot of great battles with different teams, and new teams that are coming in every year as well. It seems like Omar is recruiting, so I don't
yeah.
know if you want to kind of talk to that a little bit.
So I only participated in the first year because then I started coaching um, AAU baseball, and we have a tournament every year. We play in a tournament every single year on Memorial Day. So I haven't been able to participate in it since that first year, but just getting to meet some of those guys that I would have never have met, like it's just cool to meet other guys from other leagues. And because I didn't put a lot of that first year team together, I just ran it for Omar. He put a lot of that team together, and it was just cool to meet other guys. We had some good battles. Didn't go the way we wanted to, but we had some really good games. And I helped out the year Team Island won it. I actually helped Mark Sobolski get some of the guys. Seth, who I've mentioned to you, was on that team, and a couple of my other Havoc guys were on that team, and I helped him get some of them. He did a great job recruiting that team. Like he got a lot of really good ball players, but I did help him out with getting some of those guys. So that was I got to watch that from Connecticut. I was at a tournament in Connecticut and got to watch them win it. So that was a fun memory. But just being a part of that event and watching it grow, because I was there from the inception, and to watch what it's growing into. Every year there's new teams. Every year there's new countries, and just watching what it's growing to. Like even this year, I think we have a Team Asia, Team Latin America. Um, and we're getting people coming in from all over the country to come play in this. Um, and it's not even just the World Baseball Classic. We have, as being a part of the BBA, we do the Field of Screams tournament every year. We're doing a Labor Day one this year. I don't know exactly where that one is, but and then we also do. He just did his first bought the B Clutch World Series down in Atlanta, which was a huge success. So we're expanding, and it's great to see because the mission of the Boston Baseball Association was just to give a place for everyone to play. Like that's Omar's big thing is he wants everyone to be able to play the game of baseball because that's a game that he loved, and he'll be the first one to tell you that that's the game that kept him off the streets. Like he could have gone down a different path, but baseball kept him off the streets, and he owes a lot of his life to baseball. So his goal is to just give a place for everyone to play. We have the BBA 18 plus and 28 plus, but we also have the Sandlot, which is a Saturday league for guys just getting back into baseball or guys who just want to play the game of baseball but don't want to be like overly competitive like the 18s and 28s are. It just gives everybody a place to play the game of baseball. And that's the good thing is just seeing some of these guys who thought they would never play baseball again now getting that opportunity. So it's definitely a cool thing.
Yeah, and I mean, this is part of the reason I started this channel is just being able to tell baseball stories that aren't being told anywhere else.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, there's so many great stories out there, and whether it's Omar, whether it's other players around the
Yeah.
league, other leagues in Boston that I haven't even gotten to yet, and definitely want to. The Yawkey League. I mean, I've had a few players that are part of different the Yawkey League and the BNBL or the BBA as well, but. I haven't gotten to everybody yet, and that's why being able to have this podcast go all the way until potentially October or November is great because it allows you to tell different stories, and I'm sure
Yeah.
you have plenty of teammates you can recommend.
Yeah, I'll absolutely help you with that because I have a lot of guys that have good stories, and it's every league. Like you could keep this podcast going year round with how many good stories there probably are in baseball. And I can even like I have a buddy of mine who I played high school with that plays men's league baseball down in Atlanta that I could probably get you in touch with, who's probably one of the best pure athletes I've ever played baseball with. But there's just a lot of good stories around this country and a lot of guys that, I don't know if have you had Mark Sabolsky on yours?
Yeah, I believe he was the third guest
Yeah,
this
just
year.
that kid's
So
got an
yeah,
amazing story,
yeah,
and it's like to see someone like him who's gone through what he's gone through and to still play the game of baseball is absolutely amazing.
yeah. I mean,
Uh,
I believe it was what, three heart surgeries, if
Something
I
like that,
remember
yeah, and
correctly. I mean,
he's
and
still
anyone
going.
watching should go watch that episode because it's
Yeah,
amazing. I mean, I don't even know how you deal with three hearts. I mean, thank God I'm too young right now to have to
yeah.
worry about that. But like,
No, what he
you
was
don't know
too.
what your
He's a young
future.
guy.
Yeah,
People forget he's a young guy. He's not like old. He's young, and to see what he went through. But I'm sure there are guys like all over. Like Boston baseball has a lot of great stories in it, and a lot of guys that have a good story to tell that probably just never. That's why I'm thankful for a platform like yours that's giving guys an opportunity to share their story and stuff like that. Like like I said, me becoming the manager of the year last year and having it to my dad was a huge honor to me. And I never thought in a million years that I could look in. I have it hanging in my bedroom. Look up and see an award that has my father's name on it. A
yeah.
guy who was never an athlete, but to have them think enough of me to name an award after my father, after seeing what I went through last year with, and I used to even now. It's going to be a year at the end of May. I have good days and bad days. There are days that I just think about him. Especially when I see my girls doing stuff because as he always put it, my niece and my two daughters, they were grandpa's girls, and see when they do stuff, I sit back and look at it like, he's not here to see it. And that was his favorite thing to do, is watch his granddaughters do what they love. And even with us boys, like me and my brothers, like he loved the fact that we were still playing. Me and my older brother, everyone still play. My middle brother doesn't do sports anymore, really, but like I still play baseball, soccer. My older brother he's 53, I think, and he still plays soccer out in Texas. And my dad loved that, just knowing that his boys were still doing what they love. And baseball is a game that I know. That's why I became an umpire, because even when I decided to stop coaching, stop playing, I'm still around the game. Um, and it's been a lot of fun umpiring. It's stressful, but it's been a lot of fun.
All right, so this next question is, I like throwing this in here because it's a little fun question. Um, if you had to pick one former or current MLB player, living or dead, to manage in 2026 or be part of the Boston Havoc, who would you pick and how would they impact your team?
Well, this question is actually easy for me because it's Ted Williams. He's the reason I wear number 9. In my opinion, had he not gone to war, would be would have been the greatest hitter to, and I still think he is the greatest hitter to ever play the game. But I can only imagine what he could have done had he not lost all those years to war. But yeah, hands down, it would be Ted Williams. And even right now, I got back into card collecting. I am still chasing a Ted Williams autograph, trying to figure that out. Trying to get a Ted Williams autograph, but it easily would be Ted Williams. Just I think he was the best hitter to ever live, in my opinion. Um, so yeah, it would be Ted Williams.
All right, welcome back, folks. Sorry, there was some technical issues that got us cut off, but Rob, glad to have you back and glad that we're able to do this in one night. So normally this part
Yes.
isn't included when there are technical issues, but anyways, back to the fun part. You also mentioned earlier that you mentioned earlier that you loved umpiring, and or that you're
Yeah.
umpiring at the moment. What's your favorite part about that? In fact, Dan's the one who asked me to ask this question when he meant or I mentioned that I'm interviewing you, so this is from him as well.
Yeah. So I don't know. So far I haven't run into any issues. I'm sure I will because I've officiated basketball, so I get it. Just the kids have been great. The coaches have been great. Just being around the game and doing it for a short time and already having like even the men's league that I have teams in have asked me to umpire the games because I'm consistent. I do my job. I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but I have a lot of fun doing it. Um, it's tough. I think it's just being around, just another different way to be around the game. It's probably the most fun. It's the most fun I'm having with it.
Okay, fair enough. And then back to the Havoc for a second. Finish this sentence. The Havoc will repeat as champions in 2026 because.
Because we're veterans. We're the team to beat. And until someone knocks us off, we're the defending champions. And I think there are a lot of teams that we play that lose the game before we ever step on the field because of what Omar's built with the Havoc and the name and the brand. It's and that I tell these other managers, especially new ones, this didn't happen overnight. Like Omar's been building this for 20 plus years, and he's and we've gotten rid of some really good baseball players because they didn't fit what we were trying to build. And it's like I feel like there are times that, and I'll show up to the game and my team shows up and we're just relaxed and doing our thing, and these other teams are out there like you would think they were playing the Red Sox. Like it's crazy. Like they just in their own heads, and we win. We a lot of games we mentally win before the game ever starts. We have a talented team, and we're actually even better this year than we were last year. But we win a lot of these games before the game ever starts because teams just are like, oh, we're playing the Havoc. We got to be perfect, and they end up making mistakes. But yeah, we'll as long as we play the game we've been playing, we'll repeat. So my baseball future, a lot of it is more in the coaching aspect than playing as much anymore. Like I said, I might play for another team just to get some reps and just still play a little bit. But I've fell in love with coaching again ever since I started coaching that AU team and now running both Havoc teams and definitely more umpiring because I'm having fun doing that. Maybe eventually get into doing some college games when it comes to umpiring. I'm still new, so I'm still getting the high school games. Um, but there's a lot of that, and I'm actually going back to school and getting a second master's degree from the University of Miami in sports administration. So hopefully, maybe at some point, getting out of the construction field and going into the sports field. Maybe that's with the Boston Red Sox. Who knows? Maybe getting a job with them. I don't know. I just know I want to be involved in some way in sports, whether it be baseball being my number one, but anything. I'm willing to do anything to like, I just want to get into sports and um, it's just been a lot of fun. And coaching that kids team has kind of reinvigorated me wanting to coach. I've had a lot of fun doing it. So it's probably a lot more coaching than it is playing, coaching and umpiring.